Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into the fascinating story of a medieval powerhouse that wasn't a kingdom or an empire, but a league of merchants that dominated Northern Europe for centuries. We're talking about the Hanseatic League. Picture this, the Middle Ages, a time of knights, castles, and kings. But while nobles were jousting and monarchs were fighting over territory, a different kind of power was rising along the coasts of the North and Baltic seas. This was the power of trade, of commerce, and it was wielded by a confederation of merchant guilds and their market towns. This confederation was known as the Hansa. So, what exactly was the Hanseatic League? It wasn't a country. It had no king, no single capital, and no standing army, in the traditional sense. Instead, it was a commercial and defensive alliance of trading cities and their guilds. Think of it as a medieval version of a massive trade bloc, like the European Union, but run by merchants for merchants. Its primary goal was simple: to protect its members' economic interests and diplomatic privileges in their affiliated cities and countries, as well as along the trade routes they used. The origins of the Hansa are a bit fuzzy, but they can be traced back to the 12th century. German traders began to form associations, or Hansas, to travel and trade together for mutual protection against pirates and rival merchants. One of the key moments was the founding of the city of Lübeck in 1159. Its strategic location on the Baltic coast made it a natural hub for trade between the east and west. In 1241, Lübeck formed an alliance with Hamburg, another major trading port. This pact is often considered the birth of the Hanseatic League. From this core, the League expanded rapidly. At its peak in the 14th and 15th centuries, it included somewhere between 100 to 200 cities, stretching from England in the west to Russia in the east. Major Hanseatic cities included Cologne, Bremen, Danzig, modern-day Gdansk, and Riga. While German cities formed the core, the League's influence and trading posts, known as contours, were spread far and wide. These contours were crucial to the League's success. They were essentially foreign trading posts, small self-contained communities of Hanseatic merchants living abroad. The four most important contours were in London, Bruges in Flanders, Bergen in Norway, and Novgorod in Russia. In these enclaves, the merchants lived under their own laws, spoke their own language, and controlled the trade of specific goods. So what did they trade? Almost everything imaginable at the time. From the east they brought in valuable raw materials, grain, timber, furs, wax, and honey from Russia and Poland. From the west they traded wool and cloth from England and Flanders. From the south they imported wine, salt, and spices. From Scandinavia it was fish, especially herring, and metals like copper and iron. The Hansa effectively controlled the entire flow of goods across Northern Europe, creating a vast and incredibly profitable network. Their ships, the sturdy cogs with their single mast and square sail, were the lifeblood of this network, crisscrossing the seas laden with valuable cargo. The League wasn't just an economic alliance. It was a political and military force to be reckoned with. When its trading privileges were threatened, the Hansa did not hesitate to use its collective power. They could impose blockades and embargoes, cutting off entire kingdoms from vital supplies. If economic pressure failed, they would go to war. The League had no formal army, but its member cities could pool their resources to hire mercenaries and outfit warships. One of the most famous examples of their military might was the war against the Kingdom of Denmark in the 1360s. King Valdemar the Fotre of Denmark had attacked the Hanseatic city of Visby, a major trading hub. In response, the League declared war. After a few setbacks, the Hanseatic fleet triumphed, culminating in the Treaty of Stralsund in 1370. This treaty was a massive victory for the Hansa. It granted them 15% of the profits from Danish trade, control over fortresses along the Danish coast, and even a say in the Danish royal succession. For a brief period, this League of Merchants was arguably the most powerful entity in Northern Europe, dictating terms to kings. So how was this vast organization governed? The main governing body was the Diet, or a Hanseatic. This was an assembly of delegates from the member cities which met irregularly in Lübeck, the unofficial capital of the League. Here they would discuss trade policies, settle disputes between members, and decide on collective actions, like a trade embargo or a war. However, attendance was often poor, and reaching a consensus among dozens of self-interested cities was a constant challenge. The League operated on a principle of consensus, which meant that powerful cities like Lübeck, Hamburg, and Cologne often had the most say. Life as a Hanseatic merchant was one of risk and reward. They were often away from home for long periods, navigating dangerous seas and dealing with foreign cultures. But the potential for wealth was enormous. Successful merchants became part of a new urban elite, the patricians who controlled the city councils and lived in impressive brick Gothic houses that still stand today in many former Hanseatic cities. This wealth also funded the construction of magnificent churches, town halls, and fortifications, shaping the very landscape of Northern Europe. The distinctive architectural style, known as brick Gothic, is a lasting testament to the League's prosperity. Despite its incredible power, the Hanseatic League was not destined to last forever. By the late 15th century, its dominance began to wane. Several factors contributed to its decline. Firstly, the rise of powerful nation-states like England, France, and the newly unified kingdoms of Scandinavia challenged the League's authority. These monarchies began to favor their own merchants and built up their own navies, chipping away at the Hanse's monopolies. Secondly, the economic landscape of Europe was changing. The discovery of the Americas and new sea routes to Asia shifted the focus of trade from the Baltic and North Seas to the Atlantic. Cities like Lisbon, Seville, and Amsterdam rose to prominence, while the old Hanseatic routes became less important. The herring, a staple of the Hanseatic trade, mysteriously changed their spawning grounds, moving away from the Baltic, which was a huge blow to the Hanseatic fishing industry. Internally, the League was also weakening. Unity, which had been its greatest strength, began to fracture. Member cities increasingly prioritized their own interests over the collective good. The Reformation added another layer of division, as some cities remained Catholic, while others became Protestant. The Hanseatic met less frequently, and the League's ability to act decisively diminished. By the 17th century, the Hanseatic League was largely a shadow of its former self. The last formal diet was held in 1669 with only 9 members attending. The League was never officially dissolved. It simply faded away as its members went their separate ways. But the legacy of the Hanseatic League lives on. It played a crucial role in the development of international law, maritime law, and business practices. It spurred urban development across Northern Europe, leaving behind a rich architectural and cultural heritage. Cities like Lübeck, Hamburg, and Bremen still proudly bear the title Free and Hanseatic City as a nod to their independent and prosperous past. The League demonstrated that power could come not just from land and titles, but from commerce, cooperation, and control of the seas. It was a unique and powerful chapter in European history, a testament to what can be achieved when merchants unite. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey back to the age of the Hanseatic League. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into history. Let us know in the comments which historical topic you'd like to see next. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.